All right, John, we're about 24 games in. Well, not about. We're exactly 24 games in. We have a little bit better idea what this team is, what it's capable of, what the needs are. Let's get into kind of a state of the Timberwolves show to start out. Then we will talk about Rudy Gobert and his play and his temper and the position he's put himself in, what they're doing about the point guard position, the fact that Bones Hyland's in the rotation, at least temporarily. A lot to get to today. This is the Jon Krawczynski Show. He's Jon Krawczynski from The Athletic. I'm Jim Suhan from the Star Tribune and TalkNorth.com. This is TalkNorth.com, and we're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studio.
This holiday season, bring a little extra magic home with Aquarius Home Services, your authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Enjoy worry-free water that makes every moment shine, sparkling dishes, softer laundry, and refreshing worry-free drinking water. Right now, save up to 25% on a Connecticut whole home water treatment system. Schedule your free water analysis at aquariushomeservices.com. Aquarius in Connecticut, earning the right to be recommended.
Hey, this is Randy Shaver. Along with Kevin Gorg, we host the show Fantasy Huddle on Talk North. Each week, we're going to break down the matchups for the NFL season and try to give you the best chance to win your fantasy football games each and every week. Join us for Fantasy Huddle on Talk North.
We're also presented to you by Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood. Thanks to all of our sponsors who make this possible and everybody who watches and listens. If you're listening, yes, we also do this show on YouTube. You can find it there. You can find all of our audio shows at TalkNorth.com. When you find a show you like, please subscribe to your favorite podcast app or just keep coming back to YouTube if you watch these shows this way. John's also on the Viking Update Show. Really good episode this week on McCarthy and what's happening with the Vikings. Once again, thank you to everyone for helping us get to this state with this show and this network. We do appreciate it. All right, John, let's start off. But just what do you think of this team so far?
Yeah, kind of coming off of a game against the Phoenix Suns on Monday night where they lost 108-105 and Phoenix did not have Devin Booker. I just think that walking out of the arena, it really did feel like that performance was emblematic of what we have seen to this point in the season. And, it's a team that is in okay shape because they have beaten a lot of bad teams. But right now, it is a group that the whole is not greater than the sum of its parts. So it just feels like you're getting a really good individual season from Anthony Edwards. You're getting a really good individual season from Jaden McDaniels. Julius Randle has largely been good for most of this season. Rudy Gobert has had, really good stretches, but the group has not yet coalesced in a way that you really thought would happen quicker because of all of the continuity with the coaching staff, with the roster. And so, Anthony Edwards said it last week in New Orleans, and Julius Randle said it after the game against Phoenix, but everyone really is talking about how it's a team that seems to be playing like they just want to fast forward to the playoffs. They just want to get over the boring stuff and then start playing for real when the playoffs get here. And that's not a likable quality right now. The edge has not been there consistently. The defensive focus and intensity has not been there consistently. And so they dig big holes. And then a lot of times they've been able to dig out of them against bad teams. And then there's games like the Phoenix game that you play a well-coached team that is organized and has a plan and you get burned by it. So just overall unsatisfying, I think, is the way to label this start. I don't think it's a disaster. I don't think it's the worst thing ever. Unlike some in the fan base, I don't think people should be fired or traded just immediately, anything like that. But I do think it's, they have like 3 days off this week with the NBA Cup, and maybe this is a good time for them to reset and recalibrate and try and rediscover some sort of consistency and urgency that just has not been there all season long.
Yeah, it's such a good way to put it because that's what we've seen. We've seen them beat bad teams, not always with great performances. And lately we've seen them play really poor first halves and kind of salvage it with a really good second half. That didn't work out against Phoenix on Monday night. Everything you said is kind of what I thought you might say when we came on here. It feels like a team that almost as complacent, even though they haven't really accomplished anything this year.
Yeah, it's it's a team that I think you hit on it too, Jim, is that even in their wins, they have been very unimpressive. Now, I will say that they've had one mini stretch, I think, of really good basketball. It was a 3-game stretch where it started with a loss at Oklahoma City, where they played really tough against a team that is just buzzsawing the entire league, and they were right in it all the way down to the end. I thought it was a really well-played game. And then they came back home and beat Boston and San Antonio back-to-back at home. Yes, San Antonio did not have Wembanyama, but both of those teams are playing really well and are stacking up wins and beating good teams. And the Timberwolves played a very tight, very crisp and smart games, both of those games, and won. And so they came out of that little home stretch and you say, okay, like this, now things are starting to come together. But then, they go down to New Orleans and they just play with their food down there and, darn near lose to just a dreadful team. They come home and play the Clippers. And, I thought they played okay, but the Clippers are not a good team and they want to be beaten every night. And the Wolves just let them hang around. And so that really kind of went deeper. The question on the outcome went much deeper than it probably should have. And then, against Phoenix on Monday night, the Wolves, if you just went position by position up and down the roster, there are very few spots where the Suns have a more talented player. Some of the lineups that Jordan Ott, who is a really good young coach, was putting out there against the Wolves were just like very, very short on talent. But you know what they did? They played hard. They hustled. They worked hard on defense. They rebounded, offensive rebounds to create other chances. And they just outworked the Timberwolves. And I think that too often this season, the Wolves have won just purely on talent. Like that's it. Like they are just a more talented team and scraped by that way. And so if they do not start to play with a more intelligent, mature, intense approach, like more of the losses like we saw against Phoenix are going to keep coming. And it's a real shame because I do believe that it is a talented group. I think sometimes you wonder about how the pieces fit together exactly and what's going on there. But overall, the talent from 1 through 9 is really strong. And so now they have to find a way to start playing together and start harnessing that talent in a way that is more than just good individual games here and there. They have to complement each other better. They have to play for one another much better. And they have to be able to grind out games like the Suns game where, they couldn't make a shot. Like it was just really difficult for Conley and McDaniels and DiVincenzo and Nasri. They were all missing shots, but find a way, roll up your sleeves and dig in and out tough a team. And they just have not been doing that so far. And so it's just there's been a lack of energy and a lack of spirit with this team. That's been the disappointing part to this point in the season, because I just think they're capable of so much more.
Sometimes we see it in other sports. I know I covered the Vikings teams that lost in dramatic fashion in NFC championship games. There is this kind of hangover effect where, okay, you really had a shot at things last year. It didn't work out to you. And it might be just purely subconscious. It's like, man, it's going to be a long road to get back to even where we were last year. Do you think there's any hangover effect from having 2 great seasons and having them end in disappointing fashion?
I think that I would describe it less as a hangover, Jim, because I do think that, yes, they were disappointed at the way that it went against the Thunder in the conference finals, and they were kind of crestfallen about how far it appears that they are away from taking that final step and what it took there. But this feels more like boredom, just straight up boredom. Like, we're going to go through the motions. in the regular season. And we're kind of going to take it for granted because we know we've been to the conference finals the last 2 years. We know that it doesn't matter if we're a 2 seed or a 6 seed, that you put us in the playoffs and we get the matchups that we need, and we're going to be in great shape, which I still think is 100% in play for this group. I mean, when you look at the way that they have operated through the regular seasons under Chris Finch, generally speaking, it is Chris Finch taking the first 2-3 months to figure out exactly rotations, what he has, how they fit together. And then usually late January, early February, they start clicking and turning it on. And then once they get to the playoffs, they're playing great and they go. It's a fine model. And they do deserve the benefit of the doubt because they've done it so many times that way. But it is very uninspiring to watch it because you kind of, I think the hope was that coming off the second straight conference finals loss, and one that wasn't particularly close, you would see sort of a more motivated group at the start of this season to sort of prove that, hey, we've learned, we're taking this seriously. We are here to make a statement that, that we're right in the mix for this, and we're not as far away from contender status as maybe some people might believe after watching that series. And we haven't seen that. We haven't seen a team play with the chip on its shoulder like it does have something to prove. We have a team that we've seen play as if they're like, hey, we're going to get to the conference finals no matter what. So let's not get hurt. Let's just take our time. Let's muddle through here. And when it's go time, we are going to be just fine. And maybe that will be the case, and maybe that is what's going to happen. But in the interim and watching it, it does call into question, like, what you're seeing on a nightly basis and their ability to come together and to put together a product that is not only going to try, be in a position to advance to the playoffs, but a chance to actually beat a historically good team. And that's the thing that we are not seeing right now. And there's no team that is as good as Oklahoma City for sure. But I think that what you wanted to see from this group through this part of the season was one that said, we should be in the conversation, and the gap is not going to be a chasm. It's going to be just a gap that maybe in a series we can make up. And just right now with their approach, with their mindset, with all of that, it doesn't inspire confidence that way.
My takeaway is Connolly might as well make a dramatic trade every training camp. If
Right.
Cohesiveness isn't going to get you off to a fast start, just blow it up every year. See what happens.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that, that was the argument coming out all summer long, was like, hey, for the first time ever, we're not having a major trade either in the preseason or in the middle of the season, like the Conley and Akil trade that was, several years ago. It's like Tim Connolly was very inactive, and it was very much by design that way. They liked this team. They wanted to see this group get another chance to come back together and play. And I still, again, I believe that there's a real chance that it does get validated, that this team does sort of wake up and start to kind of treat the regular season with the professionalism and the gravity that it deserves. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is a group that just thrives on chaos and needs something to kind of upset the apple cart and rouse them from it. That said, I will remind all the fans who are really upset right now or just impatient that at this time last year, the picture was a heck of a lot bleaker. Like, they were not winning games. They weren't just losing or winning games unimpressively. They were not winning at all. They were losing to bad teams. It was not working out. And you were thinking, man, this team may not make the playoffs, let alone have a chance to advance. And over time, they figured it out and they got going, and it all worked out in the end. But still, it's just I would say it's just I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. Like that. I'm talking to my kids right now. I'm not mad at you. I'm disappointed because I know that you're capable of a heck of a lot more than what you've put on display so far. And that loss against the Suns was sort of like, just the card carrying example 1A of the, unimpressiveness so far of the body of work that we've seen from them.
Good stuff. Let's get to Rudy Gobert and his anger management issues here in a second. We do have to take care of the businesses that take care of us. Let's hear about Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood.
If you're in the market for a new luxury vehicle, look no further than our good friend Charlie Swanson at Lexus. He was courtside at the Suns game the other night, so blame him for the loss if you want to. But whether you're on the west or the east side of the Twin Cities, they've got you covered with two great locations, Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. Check out the all-new Lexus TX, a spacious SUV with 3 rows of seating and plenty of room for all your gear. Head over to lexusofwayzata.com or lexusofmaplewood.com for details and to find your next ride today.
Also want to thank our first original sponsor, our TSR Injury Law. They've been great to us all along. They'll be great for you if you ever need their particular kind of help. If you are injured and you want to talk to a lawyer, you call 612-TSR-TIME, 612-TSR-TIME. Micah, Nori, or Naz Reid might answer the phone. You never know. But you will eventually deal with a lawyer who will help you. They will not charge you unless they win your case. They win a lot of cases. That's why they are a great Minnesota success story. 612-TSR-TIME. We'd also like to thank Royal Credit Union.
There are many reasons to open a smart checking account at Royal Credit Union, including no monthly fees, no minimum balance, and a $250 bonus. Getting your $250 is easy. Open your account by December 9th. Receive 2 payroll direct deposits of $200 or more, and you'll get a $250 bonus. See details and open your account today at rcu.org/getchecking. No minimum balance required to obtain bonus. Offer ends 12/9/25. Insured by NCUA.
Rudy Gobert has had incredibly effective stretches this year. His overall effectiveness is pretty well established mathematically. When they involve him offensively, he's been effective. But now he's in a bit of trouble.
He is, Jim. I mean, and what we saw in the Suns game was disappointing on multiple fronts. First of all, he was off to a great start offensively. 7 for 9 from the field. I think he caught 3 lobs for dunks, getting offensive rebounds, and you saw a Timberwolves team that has been pretty reluctant to throw him the ball was finding him against the Suns front court. And that was kind of the staple of the offense while the shooting woes were really kind of cropping up through the first 2.5 quarters. And so they're in this dogfight with a less talented team, and Rudy Gobert is having his way offensively with them. And then, he gets hit in the head by Mark Williams on the offensive end. And for one of the rare times, since he's come to Minnesota, they actually reviewed the play for a flagrant. They gave Mark Williams a flagrant 1. He gets free throws and they get the ball. Okay, good. Justice is served. And on the other end of the court, Mark Williams is going up for a shot right at the rim, and Rudy Gobert, just apparently out of retaliation, just recklessly shoves him like in the back while he's airborne. And the officials look at that and rightly, I believe, issue a flagrant 2 foul and eject him. And so there's 2 problems here, a short-term and a long-term. The short-term problem was that Rudy Gobert has been, we can talk all about sort of the polarizing game that he has and the frustrations that maybe a lot of people have with his offensive output, but there's no denying that he's been an incredibly impactful player for the Timberwolves this season and, throughout his career here. Like, I think like plus 8.2 points per 100 possessions better with him on the floor than off. And then they're a minus 3 point something when he's off the floor. So it's a huge gap when you take Rudy Gobert out of the game. And Rudy Gobert throughout these early days of sort of semi-struggle that the team has gone through, has been one of the leading voices really preaching, we've got to play with good habits. We've got to be disciplined. We've got to be focused. And we're not doing that consistently enough. And until we do that, we're not going to be able to realize our full potential. And he is preaching this and talking about this. And yet then he goes and makes a really reckless, really dangerous play that takes him out of a game where they really need Rudy Gobert, and they end up losing. Now, they didn't lose because of their defense. They only gave up 108 points at home. You should win every single game. You only give up 108 points at home. But they missed him offensively. I mean, it was just a night where most of the guys outside of Anthony Edwards, who was amazing, and Bones Hyland could not make a shot. And so they needed to have Rudy Gobert there to serve as this anchor offensively, just to go clean up the offensive glass, score at the rim, and give them enough of a push to get over the hump against Phoenix. And he was not there for the last, almost 2 quarters of the game, and they severely missed him. And so just as a veteran leader on this team, Rudy can't be making that play. He just cannot be the one who lets his team down that way and puts them in that shorthanded position. And so it was really disappointing that way. And then the second part about it, Jim, is that now he has 5 flagrant foul points. And when you get 6 flagrant foul points, which means just one more flagrant foul, either a 1 or a 2, that carries with it a 1-game suspension. And then every point after 7 carries a 2-game suspension. And we got 58 games left in the regular season. This is a long time to go in a season where things aren't really kind of going smoothly right now. And so he's right up against that anvil for the next 2/3 of the season, and or 3/4 almost of the season. And so he's put himself in a difficult spot, and he put the team in a difficult spot in that Suns game. And a lot of that loss is on Rudy Gobert, unfortunately. And he's been terrific for them. He's been so important, but the level-headed veteran was not there last night, and really it was a really tough look given how much he's expressed through his voice and his words the need to be disciplined and focused, and he was not.
Seems like he's particularly sensitive to getting hit in the head.
Yeah. And I understand understandably. Yeah. He, I will say, much like Anthony Edwards does not get a lot of calls going to the basket, even though he gets hit constantly. Rudy Gobert does get hit in the head a lot, and very often they do not review the play for a hostile act for a flagrant foul. I don't know why that is. If it's just he's just so big that the officials don't see it and they don't think that the contact is as egregious as a lot of them have been. So he has a real case for saying that you do not officiate me the right way in this manner. That said, he is also one of those guys who has said over and over again that this team cannot let outside factors beyond its control determine its demeanor, determine its the way that it fights, and determine how disciplined they are on both ends of the court and their decision making. And so if you're going to preach that and you're going to practice that, you have to practice it. And so to kind of put himself in that position, and let's also say what it was a dangerous play.
Yes.
Like if Dylan Brooks had done the same thing, like
we'd be screaming.
Every fan would be losing their mind. And it's if Draymond Green did that, every fan would be losing their mind. And so I do not think Rudy is a dirty player. I do not think that that he has a menacing bone in his body that way, but that individual play was dirty and reckless, and it deserved the flagrant 2 ejection. And so I would understand the Suns, especially Mark Williams, who has dealt with a lot of injuries in his career, really taking exception to that play.
Yes, no doubt. All right. Want to get to Bones, Ant, the rotation. any potential moves this team could be contemplating, at least down the stretch here as we start moving toward the trade deadline. Let's take our last commercial break, though. Take care of, again, the businesses that take care of us. And let's start with True Vision Institute.
True Vision Institute in Bloomington. Go to truevision.com, set up your free consultation, go in there and meet with the people. You will be just amazed and blown away at how well they treat you as soon as you walk in the door. They bring you through an extensive examination. They have all sorts of conversations with you about what you're looking for in vision correction and what might be the best for you. I had LASIK surgery at True Vision. It's been one of the best things I've ever done for myself, quite literally in my life. And so they will take care of you the way they took care of me, which was just top shelf the whole way through the experience. Dr. Chu and his entire staff are so warm, so welcoming, so easy to work with. So go to truevision.com, set up that consultation, get in there, and they will help you take care of all of your vision correction needs, and you'll never look back.
We're going to tell you about the live show coming up at Headflyer Brewing. But first, let's thank Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops Clothing Line, who also sponsor the Twitter question we'll read at the end of the show.
sglambchops.com. Head there. You're looking for holiday gifts for your friends, whether they're Wolves fans or not. Everyone in Target Center knows Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops Clothing, and they have seen it all on everyone's back, both the Wolves stuff, but also just the regular day-to-day casual wear, the hoodies, the hats, the sweatshirts, the sweaters. All of it is just great, super high quality, super comfortable stuff from Lamb Chops. sglambchops.com. With the promo code JONK20, you get 20% off anything you get at Lamb Chops. Great for holiday gifts as you're looking for stuff that one of your friends or family members can wear around the house, lounging and watching games, or it's stylish enough to dress up and go downtown in the Loop on a Friday night and have a good time that way. So go to sglambchops.com, use the promo code JONK20 for 20% off all of the gear at Lamb Chops. You cannot go wrong with Lamb Chops clothing.
And let's hear about your live show.
Live show, Headflyer Brewing, December 20th. It's a Saturday. We're going to do it just a little bit earlier this time around. 4 p.m. is going to be the start time, and we're going to have a very special guest, Timberwolves related, that you are going to love. We are going to announce that fairly soon here, but the whole night is going to be dedicated toward having great Wolves conversation, but also with a lot of proceeds from Crunch Time beer and from other things that we'll have going on there at Headflyer will be sent to Second Harvest Heartland. There's a lot of food security issues right now in the Twin Cities and beyond, and Second Harvest Heartland does an amazing job. So right around the holidays, let's all get together. Let's talk some Wolves on December 20th with an amazing guest, and let's do some good work as well towards Second Harvest Heartland. So plan on Saturday, December 20th, 4 p.m. at Headflyer Brewing in Northeast Minneapolis, with a lot of the day dedicated to raising money for Second Harvest Heartland. Come join us. It'll be a great conversation, great fun. We'll have ticket giveaways. We'll have all sorts of stuff at Headflyer Brewing, and it'll be a typically amazing show, as it always is at Headflyer.
Yeah, if you haven't been to one of John's live shows, I highly recommend them. Great turnout, great people, great quality of people, great place to hang out. It's always a good time. Let's get to Bones Hyland in the rotation.
Yeah, so we've talked a lot, Jim, about sort of the lack of spirit, something's missing from this group overall. And the response that Chris Finch gave to that, he's been feeling it as well, is he has gone now and changed up the rotation a little bit. And he put Bones Hyland into the rotation in Rob Dillingham's minutes against Phoenix. And I expect that to really stay the same going forward here for at least a little while. What Finch is looking for with Bones Hyland is juice, is energy, is like pushing the pace, is kind of getting people amped up. And at his best, Bones Hyland does that. He came in after not playing. I think he'd been in 8 games. He really hasn't been in the rotation for more than a month. And he played 16 minutes against the Suns, scored 14 points, hit 4 threes, had 3 assists, and really was an additive member of that rotation, and maybe might have been the second best player that they had in that Suns game next to Ant, who was great. And so there's also a flip side to his coin, because he also had 3 turnovers. He had a wild drive and missed layup in the fourth quarter. And so you're going to get some of that with Bones Hyland as well. But I think that right now, Chris Finch is searching for a spark. And Bones Hyland is one of the players that is equipped, it seems like, to provide that sort of just jolt of energy. And he, from what I understand, he's been playing great in practice. He's been patient. He's been the good soldier. And so it's time to give him a shot. And it was working in the Suns game. And the other part about this is that Anthony Edwards just loves Bones Hyland. I mean, I asked him, what he liked about his game after the game last night, and Ant said that, when I look at Bones Hyland, I see a star. And so he just feels like his overall swagger, his bag that he can go into, is something that Ant thinks will bring a lot to the table. And Edwards has been lobbying behind the scenes to get Bones Hyland into the rotation. And now he's here for a little bit. And so, it's definitely a move that is indicative of Chris Finch's belief that something's got to be shaken up here. And we need someone to come in and sort of grab us by the collar and get us moving. And the hope is that Bones Hyland can do that.
Is there anybody from outside the organization they might be considering for that kind of a shakeup?
Yeah, I do think that they are monitoring the trade market, that, as we get closer, we're recording this on December 9th. December 15th is an important date in the trade calendar, because a lot of the players who signed contracts this summer now become eligible to be moved. And so that just kind of opens up the market a little bit to get teams being able to talk a little bit more substantively about deals. And so I do think that, if this sort of malaise continues, I think that they will be looking at the point guard market and seeing if there's something out there. Right now, I can tell you that there's not an obvious answer. I don't think it's going to be Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think it's going to be Chris Paul at all. I think that they have an aging veteran in Mike Conley who they love to death. And I don't think that they would see adding Chris Paul.
By the way, I was joking. I'm glad you're explaining.
But there are a lot of fans out there. There are a lot of fans out there that, hey, bring him in. And I don't think that's at the top of their list right now from that standpoint. Then there's bigger names that you look at, the Trae Youngs, the LaMelo Balls, the John Morants of the world. But those guys, they all have warts and they all have very, very big contracts. And that makes it very difficult to construct deals for, because if you do trade for someone like that, you're probably giving up a decent portion of your depth that you have. And what we are seeing now in this era of the NBA is depth is really, really important. You got teams that are playing 9-10 guys all of the time, that are going harder and harder than ever. And even if the Wolves do not have guys that in the 8, 9, 10 spots that are just burning things up and and really acquitting themselves well, I do think it's important for them to continue to try to develop those guys and let them play and try and take a little bit of the pressure off of their big minutes guys, so that they can get through the entire season. So that's complicated. I think that if in a perfect world, if they were able to wave their magic wand, they would look for a point guard that is not making $40-some million a year, that is not making the minimum like Chris Paul, but more so someone in the mid range, somewhere in that, I don't know, $10 to $20 million range. And, I'm just throwing this out there. I don't think this is a guy that they're thinking of, but the guy that comes to mind is Dennis Schroeder, like a veteran playmaker, has won big games, doesn't make a ton of money. He's got his own personality issues. There's a reason he's bounced around the league a lot, but someone of that ilk, I think is probably the ideal situation. I mean, maybe like a Kobe White who is in the last year of his deal and there's stuff like that. But I think that is, if they're going to make a move, that's kind of where I would look, at least right now. And again, I don't think anything is really percolating on it. I think they're still in the due diligence, fact-finding mode of things, and they want to give this team a little bit more chance to figure things out. But I think the closer we get to January 1st, if they're still having sort of the same issues that they're having right now, I think then maybe they start to ramp up those efforts and really take a look at what's available out there for them. But Tim Connolly does like to make trades, and he's not afraid to change things up if it's not working. So I do think that it's on their minds, but it's not something that they are saying we have to make a move right now on. But they're looking at all the options out there and trying to find them, and it is not an easy market to navigate right now.
What does all this say about Rob Dillingham and his situation?
Yeah, it's tough, man. You watched what Bones did in that game and just the aggression and confidence that he played with. And that's not what we have seen from Rob, lately. I will say that I do think it has been tough on Rob Dillingham because there's been many games where he plays like 1 6 or 7 minute shift. That's it. And that is a very hard thing for a rhythm player like him to find any sort of feel for the game and get a flow going. But right now you look at his shot and it looks broken. He's shooting 28% from three, 35% from the field. It looks like he's second guessing himself every single time he takes a shot because he knows he's probably only going to get like 2 or 3 of them. And if he doesn't make them, then he's probably coming out of the game. So it's a difficult situation for him right now. I do think that him being removed from the rotation isn't permanent. I'm sure that he will get another chance at this, but right now he does not have the trust of the coaching staff. Right now, Anthony Edwards is banging on the table for Bones Hyland. Right now, he is not giving the spark plug, kind of microwave type player off the bench that they need. Terrence Shannon Jr. isn't doing that either. So they're kind of desperate. And so they're going to Bones. And so I think he's going to be on ice for a little bit, and how he handles that and how the Timberwolves help him sort of try to get his feet underneath him and get some confidence going is going to be tricky, because I don't think he's in a great spot mentally. And I'm not sure exactly how he finds the groove without playing 20 minutes a night and just going out there and going through the mistakes and figuring things out. So this is a bit of a tough spot for Rob Dillingham right now. But what we've known from Chris Finch is just because he takes you out of the rotation, that does not mean you're dead and buried. You will get another chance, but Rob has to play with more force, with more confidence. And the trickiest part is going to be generating that confidence. And that's the problem right now with Rob Dillingham, with the Timberwolves, where they're at in the standings and where they're at from a competitive standpoint. And so, that's just, I think that's the spot that they're in right now.
What bothers me about Rob is, this is going to be a big year in his career. Mm-hmm. And there were minutes to be had. And to me, his shot, he still looks like he doesn't have a repeatable shot. He lands differently, especially on his 3-point shot. He lands differently. And you watch good 3-point shooters, and whether it goes in or not, the form looks exactly the same.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that has been a big problem. He's always had a funky shot. That's just that's just always been part of his game, is that he's been a little bit more of a and one mixtape type of player that way. And it had gone in the past, but when you have the mechanics that he has, and then you layer on top of that the confidence issues that he's dealing with right now it becomes a really difficult thing to figure out, because you can just see him pressing all of the time and thinking about things so much. And so what we see from the great shooters in the league is, like you said, that repeatable form, that repeatable process. And so even when those shots aren't going in, they just say, look, all I do is catch it, set my base, elbow, follow through. And if I keep doing that over and over again, it's going to come around. I'm going to lean into that part of it. But Rob doesn't have those mechanics to lean into. And he also does not have a feel for his role here to lean into. And so it's sort of like, just a double-edged sword right now, and everything is working against each other right now. And it's just been tough. The one thing I'll really give him credit for is before he got removed from the rotation, his best contributions were defensively, Jim. Mm-hmm. Like he's hustling around. He was creating steals. He was fighting his butt off, against bigger players and really kind of taking that on. And I was impressed by that, actually. I mean, he's not a plus defender, but he knows that that's a weakness, and he is fighting to stay in that. And it's just, that's never the way that I thought this was going to play out, is that, man, his offense is a real problem, and his defense is the best part of his game. And so it just goes to show you, like, sort of how out of sorts that he is. And I think maybe over the long haul, they will be able to, he can still figure this out. But he's got a long way to go, which is tough right now.
All right, let's wrap up the show with the Twitter question sponsored by Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing line.
Yeah, sglambchops.com, promo code JONK20 for 20% off anything at Lamb Chops. And this question comes from Lord John HB. The Suns look immediately more competent ever since they fired their coach. What reason do we have to keep Finch without using the Western Conference Finals runs as justification? You know, like, guys, he's not getting fired.
He's not getting fired.
Like, that's just not the way that Tim Connolly operates. That's not what should happen. And, you know, you look at what he's done. Could he be handling some things better right now? Sure, of course, with some of the rotations, with finding the right buttons to push to get this team off to better starts. They've been very lackluster at the start, and some of that is coaching, motivation, all of those things. But, you know, the Phoenix Suns game, for example, he had 4 of his best shooters could not hit a shot. Is that coaching? That's not coaching. You know, some of the turnovers late in games that have caused them to lose things down the stretch, that's not coaching, that's decision making. Those are things that are on the players. And, you know, kind of saying that, you know, what does he have other than the 2 runs to the Western Conference Finals as justification to keep him? I don't know. Like, what does Angelina Jolie have other than her acting talent and her looks to say that I want to watch her on TV? Like, those are huge parts of what he's done. Like he has been the best, most successful coach in Timberwolves history. He has also shown that over the last couple of years, things do start out rocky. It isn't great. Now, would you love them to be bum rushing the league right now and playing better, you know, than the sum of their parts? Absolutely. And he has made mistakes, but this sort of reaction in the fan base after every single loss to fire the guy is just bad process. And we have seen him over the course of his career figure things out to the point that they're always playing their best basketball come playoff time. And so he deserves the benefit of the doubt. This team deserves the benefit of the doubt that they are going to figure out. They are also 15-9. They are not 9-15. And so all of the things that we've talked about in this show apply, that they have underachieved so far. It has been unimpressive. It has not been a disaster. It has not been like irredeemable. And the Suns fired their coach because their owner's like a wild guy. Yeah. And the other reason that the Suns are where they are right now, Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal are elsewhere. And that team it has a better chemistry right now with the current makeup. And so Jordan Knott's done a great job. He's done a really good job as a coach. But I think that, fans just have to understand that Chris Finch is not getting fired right now and immediately. It would have to be a disaster of a stretch of 25 or 50 games for them to even think about firing him. And it is not that way. And so, one of the reasons the Wolves have now ascended to a place where they are out of that dysfunctional gutter that they were in for so long is that they have had stable leadership that doesn't panic and doesn't make knee-jerk reactions. The revolving door at head coach and GM was not working for this team for a very long time. And right now they do have to lean into the stability. They have to challenge each other to get better. But actually firing people is just like, it's just not the way that this organization operates anymore. And it's not the right thing to do. And so fans just have to come to grips with that.
Well said. I can't add anything to that. Good stuff, John. I appreciate it. Check out the show on a weekly basis. Check out John on the Viking Update show as well. Lots of good stuff at TalkNorth.com. You should know the lineup by now. If you don't, go check it out. We have great people. I think the best lineup in town, and headed by people like Jon Krawczynski and Michael Russo. So once again, thanks to everyone. Make plans to get out to that live show at Headflyer, and we will talk to you next week.